The gate was 4.11 million. The new arena record, we broke our own record with that one. The attendance was just over 16,000 people. Fight of the night, Burgos versus Barboza. Performance of the nights were Christos and Oliveira. They all won $75,000, so congratulations to them.
Dana, before we get into the main event, just want to ask you for a couple medical updates. Jacare, I mean, clearly he had a break there. Do you have any update or speak to him or know his condition?
No, I haven't. I mean, I'm sure he's fine, or I would have heard by now, but no.
And how about Shane Burgos as well? That was just such an odd ending. It was kind of, I don't know, a little scary, I guess.
Yeah, it freaked me out too. He got hit in the temple, and it took a minute for him to react to it. And then the way that he was laying there, I thought something bad happened, and he got right up and was speaking fine, whatever. But we made sure that he went right to the hospital, and we're getting all the tests that need to be done on him done. So, I don't know if you saw me at the bottom of the stairs, but I'm like, you go straight to the hospital. When he said I'm fine, and I said, let the doctors determine whether you're fine or not. So made sure his corner knew that I wanted him to go straight to the hospital.
Very nice. Appreciate the update. Now, talking about the main event, Charles Oliveira, I mean, a heck of a fighter. Just can you give us your impressions of that fight as a whole and his performance?
Yeah, it was an incredible main event. Both guys had an unbelievable performance in that fight, and, Oliveira pulled it out. It was an incredible fight. Yeah. Incredible first round.
Amazing. You think Charles Oliveira, been a guy that's been around here for a decade, and had some ups and downs and had some losses. So I'm just curious, along this path, I mean, did you ever look at him? He's clearly talented. He's got a ton of bonuses. But did you ever look and go, that guy's probably going to be a champion someday, or did you have concerns?
You never know. You never know with these guys. You never know what's gonna happen. I mean, this whole thing was based on timing. When you look at the timing of how this all played out, from Khabib's retirement to Conor losing to Poirier to a trilogy, Chandler looking good in the Hooker fight, Chandler, willing to do anything it took to fight anybody, and just all these things played out for this fight to happen tonight here in Houston, and it was an awesome main event.
Right away, as soon as champions get crowned, we start asking who their first defense is going to be against. I'm just curious. I mean, you got guys like Justin Gaethje out there, right? And then you've got this huge main event with Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor coming up. Do you look at either of those as kind of having an inside track over the other? Is there a clear path right now that makes sense for them?
I literally haven't even thought about it. Never even crossed my mind yet. We'll get home and start worrying about that stuff.
I'm sure Brazil is going to be excited about seeing him fight again. I mean, we're in this kind of reopening process. Do you have any idea of when the UFC might be back to Brazil? I mean, is that even on the radar yet?
No. I mean, I'm sure some of us that live in Vegas are excited to get home and there's no more masks and all that stuff, but I don't know about the rest of the country or the rest of the world for that matter. I have no idea. Take this one day at a time.
Yeah. And just on the event schedule overall, I mean, second event with a crowd. We know we got Arizona coming up, Vegas. Is there a move to start moving fight nights back to crowds as well, or are we still just pay-per-views now?
Yeah, no. We're not even looking at fight nights. I mean, we didn't even have gates in our budget until October and November. So right now to start trying to find places for fight nights, it just makes no sense. We'll stay at the cozy Apex and do our thing for the rest of the year, I think.
Nice. One name I didn't mention in that title mix is Beneil Dariush. I just want to ask you what you thought about his performance tonight and kind of where he stands. He's kind of been on the outside looking in, but he's got a heck of a run going on now.
Yeah, listen, he went in and he didn't do anything. He didn't do any favors in gaining any new fans tonight, but, it was tough. A tough go against a fan favorite like Tony. He went in, did what he had to do to win, and he'll get another fight now. One of the top 5 guys.
Nice. Last thing for me, I did want to ask you about Tony Ferguson. Man, we saw the love for him in the building tonight, man. Super fan favorite, but obviously lost all 3 rounds. Have you talked to him, and where do you think he stands in his career? Because I think a lot of people are questioning kind of what does he have left.
Yeah, I hear you, and he had a tough 3 rounds. He couldn't stop the takedown. He couldn't get up from underneath Ariel and Beneil, and. Yeah, he had a tough night, so I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Dana, just going off of that, I think Tony has landed something like 30 strikes in the last 30 minutes he's been in the octagon, which obviously not a very good sign for a fight.
What has he had?
He's landed 30 strikks in 30 minutes, so obviously not a great output. Do you think this is a case of where that fight with Gaethje just sort of maybe started to wind down his career?
Yeah, it could be that. It could be just, time gets us all, so it's one of those things. I don't know which one or both, but unfortunately, it's definitely hit Tony.
Yeah, I know you don't do this stuff on the night of the fight, but do you maybe start thinking like, well, look, he's looked so sort of uninspiring that maybe we should start looking at having that conversation with him, or do you let him make that decision still at this point?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't even thought about it. He's tough as hell, though, man. He was in that heel hook, and his ankle definitely popped. I mean, his ankle, the rest of the fight, looked like a golf ball and maybe even a baseball. And he kept fighting. There's no quitting that dude.
Same with the armbar against Oliveira as well.
Yeah, no, he's tough.
Yeah. Maybe too tough for his own good.
Yeah, 100%.
I think the question about the fight nights and stuff, we're always asking you, will we go back to crowds for fight nights? It's probably biased with the Vegas-based media that maybe we don't want to travel every week. We'd rather stay at the Apex.
Right.
Do you think there's a possibility that staying at the Apex versus travel costs, travel expenses, it might work out in the long term that actually we never go back to fight nights with crowds?
No. One of the reasons that I believe personally that this sport has grown as big and as fast as it is because we take this thing all over the world. We go into, Oklahoma and places where people usually don't get fights. So the fight nights are a big part of our brand, and we'll continue to do it when the whole country opens up. But for us right now, I mean, we're trying to figure out what's next for the next pay-per-view after Vegas, and guys, I've been to New York and I talk to people from Massachusetts and places like this where people aren't doing shit still. I mean, and I was in New York last week. The Peninsula, one of the biggest, nicest hotels in the world, isn't open and hasn't been open for a year and a half. The St. Regis isn't open. Cipriani isn't open. Some of these, I mean, all these places are closed. And maybe some of you here are from New York, but that's crazy to me. Guy in the back, it's crazy to me. When I go there and these places are all still closed. I mean, you guys that live in Vegas. I was in Caesar's Palace the other day. You couldn't fit more people in that place. It was madness. Vegas is rocking and booming. You come to Texas, you go to Florida. People are living normal lives, but you start thinking about where we take this thing next. A lot of these states are still really, really closed down.
Yeah, I don't think COVID's been a thing in Vegas for a while.
Yeah.
But The Ultimate Fighter comes back on TV on June 1st. I know you can't tell us much about it, but how's the show been? How have the fights been?
It's been good. It's good to have it back. It's been a fun season so far, so I'm looking forward to it.
Good antics between the coaches?
Did what?
Any banter between the coaches?
Yeah, we had a little blow up the other day with those two. Got a little heated, but then before I left, we had to sit down and everybody was cool. So kind of up and down.
Okay. Last thing from me, and I know you love answering questions about these guys, but the head of Triller says that you blocked GSP from boxing Oscar De La Hoya and that you made a move for Jake Paul.
Oh my God! Don't even ask me about these idiots. Who gives a shit? Does anybody give a shit?
I guess they
You do? No, I don't give a shit what they think. You think I care what Triller thinks?
No. Are you sick and tired of them mentioning UFC?
I don't even take their calls. This idiot calls me every day, texts me every day. Please answer my call. Please talk to me. Why won't you talk to me? Because I don't give a fuck about you. Do your thing. Leave me alone. Go fucking do whatever it is you're doing. Knock yourself out. I could care less.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah. I have no interest in talking to any of those idiots. They can do their thing. Do your thing. Stop talking about me. What do you give a shit what I'm doing? Go do your thing.
At some point, is it getting annoying that they only seem to ever talk about UFC fighters and UFC talent?
Oh, I get it, but yeah, get out of here. What are you doing? I don't even know what you're doing. What is this thing you're trying to build? What are you doing? And why are you talking? What do I have to do with it? What do I have to do with it? Or my guys? Do your thing. What are you doing? Are you starting an MMA organization? Or you know? And then you got Oscar, this fucking idiot again in the car that night. Come with us and make more money than you've ever made in your life. We heard that before. Chuck Liddell's here tonight. Grab him, ask him if he made more money than he ever made in his whole life when he went with Oscar De La Hoya. You know what I mean? But you guys keep asking me about these idiots. You guys know they're a fucking joke, but you keep asking me about them when you know they're a joke. You know this is bullshit. You know they're all full of shit, and you know what I mean? But this is what you want. You want me to do this, and I tried not to do it, and I can't help myself. But I don't care what they're doing. Fucking go away. Go do whatever you're doing. Stop texting me, stop calling me, and stop fucking asking the media to ask me things, okay? Beat it. Get lost.
Derek Lewis is back here doing a guest fighter scrum. He was saying he was hoping to make the fight against Francis officially official. Have you had an opportunity to talk to him while you're in Houston?
Ask me that question again.
Derek Lewis is back here saying he was hoping that his fight against Francis would become official, and he was hoping to talk to you at some point. Have you had a chance?
Yeah. No, listen, Derek Lewis is the next in line. He's the guy who deserves the shot at the heavyweight championship, and yes, we will get that fight done. And, you know, we're not talking about it yet because it's probably not going to be till mid or late August, so, yeah.
And as of right now, the winner would probably still get Stipe, unless this John Jones situation.
Yeah, well, John made it very clear he won't fight Stipe, so, yeah.
Dana back here.
Yep.
Switching to other people, give some insight on the Andrea KGB Lee and that performance that she had earlier.
Yeah, no, it was a good fight. It was a good fight. She looked good. I expected that fight to be exciting, and it was, and good for her.
What about Lando and that crazy fight?
What about what?
Lando Vanda?
Yeah. What about it?
What do you think about that kind of set the tone for the rest of the night?
Yeah, I thought the whole card tonight was awesome, man. I think from the first fight of the night until the main event, you know, it was a great card. These kids, just like in Jacksonville, man. These kids, I was telling them yesterday in the fighter meeting. It's like every week we go out and we get ready for these fights, and these kids just keep delivering, and it's just so much more exciting now being back in these sold-out, packed arenas with the fans here, and it just couldn't be any more fun than it is right now.
What do you do with Kaylin Shahagan? She's in a weird position because she's beating the contenders. She got smashed by the champ, but she's a very quality. It's like she's in a weird no woman's land.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and that's the problem when you have somebody that's as good as she is. You know, you got these contenders that are coming up, and you know, she's beating them. It's a good question that I don't have an answer for, sir.
And then he kind of alluded to John. Will we see John in 2021 fight? Because he fought before the pandemic, so there'll be almost a whole 2 years suspension John Jones. I know you want to get there with the live gate. You got to take advantage of that, right?
Listen, that's up to John Jones. You know, whether he wants to fight or not. You know, there's fights available. They're here. I'm going to keep making fights every weekend, doing fights. You know, if John Jones wants to fight, he can. If he doesn't, he doesn't have to. Nobody's going to force John Jones to fight. He's had a great run. He's got an incredible legacy. You know, I personally see him as the GOAT right now. You got guys that are nipping at his heels, like Usman and some other guys out there. You know, it's up to him. He can fight this summer, or he can never fight again. I mean, that's up to him.
You switch gears on me now. You say you think he's the GOAT. You don't think he needs another belt because you've seen other people do it. But very few people have done it. So if it's that easy to do, everybody would be doing it. Do you think he needs that to put that GOAT stamp, so it won't be no debate?
Well, yeah. I mean, he could do it. I mean, that's like Brady going out and winning another Super Bowl with the Bucs. Obviously, going up to heavyweight, it would be tough to argue. You know, if he wins the title, that he's not the GOAT. But right here, right now, I mean, he could retire, and I still consider him the GOAT right now until somebody else accomplishes what he has.
Yeah, final question for me. With Chandler getting knocked out decisively, does this switch to Conor and Poirier being the #1 contender fight? Or is that still too far out?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to see how these fights play out. And
I'm trying to help you with your job.
no, I hear you. Thank you.
Hey, Dana.
Yep.
During fight week, the CDC came out with their new rules that you don't have to wear a mask if you're vaccinated. Did you notice any difference this week compared to the week in Florida?
No, I don't think so. In Florida, I saw people wearing masks and not wearing masks. I saw some people with masks and people not wearing masks here, which you guys know how I feel about that. It's the way it should be. If you don't want to wear a mask, you should be able to walk around and go do what you want to do without, big mouth people shooting their mouth off. And if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. And people shouldn't be shooting their mouth off at you either. So hopefully we can get to a normal place where people who are comfortable with masks can wear them and people who aren't don't have to wear them.
Do you feel any vindication of, what you went through to get back to work with the UFC, and now they're changing stance and leading the way to getting back to normalcy?
Guys, I can't. If you look at what's going on with us right now, I mean, it's like a rocket ship. So I knew when I was doing it, it was the right thing to do. Now I know it was the right thing to do. So I've never questioned it from the beginning. So I guess you're asking me, does it feel great to be right? Fuck yeah, it feels great to be right.
Have any states reached out to you and said, hey, bring the show here. We need business. We need jobs?
Yeah, well, Pete, Dropic, who handles all the arenas, I know that arenas have been reaching out to him. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you who. But we'll see how this thing plays out. Who's going to open up? And the problem is that I won't go anywhere that's not 100%. I'll only go to places that are 100% open.
Any idea where we'll be in August for the pay-per-view then?
I don't know yet.
Charles Oliveira, jumped the fence, came over. I'm sure you're kind of surprised by his reaction afterwards. He came up to you. What did he say to you?
Yeah, he said, thank you for everything that you've done for me. Tonight was the biggest opportunity of my life, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it and how much this means to me. And, so he's a great kid.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Dana, the short guy in the back. Sorry,
yep.
I'm loud. Short, loud voice. Talk about the city of Houston in this event, this whole entire week. It was about 16 months ago that we were here in February, and then all the stuff happened. And then what do you expect from Houston this week, the city and the fans?
I knew that the first two events that we would probably do when we came back would be Florida and Texas. So Houston has always been our go-to place. And Tillman Fertitta called me a couple months ago and said, Houston needs you, man. We need the UFC. So that's why I was originally planning to come here first. I had talked to your governor, who had opened up the state, and I was working on getting this Houston show done, and it looked like we were going to come here first. But that didn't work out, so we ended up in Jacksonville and then here second. But the state has always been really good to the UFC, and the city of Houston has been unbelievable to us. So it's good to be back. It was good to be in here tonight. It was good to be here this week. And, me and all my staff and everybody involved had a blast here this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Down here to your left or right, or one of them.
Hey,
Not really sure
gotcha.
which one. Oliveira, obviously UFC champion now from Brazil. There was like a little bit of a lull for Brazil for a little while, for a couple of years. Is there a little bit of a resurgence with Oliveira and Figueiredo possibly?
I don't know if there's ever been a lull in Brazil. I mean, these guys have been dominant in the sport since day one. But, a lull is when half the champions aren't Brazilian, I guess. But yeah, I don't know if there's ever going to be a time when Brazil doesn't have some sort of dominance in the UFC.
What do you do now with Michael Chandler? I mean, he came so close to winning that fight tonight. He came close to being UFC champion. Where do you go with him?
Well, listen, he's a great kid. He's one of the best in the world. And, he's not going anywhere. There's a lot of fun fights to make with him still. The big complaint going into this fight was that he didn't have enough experience in the UFC. So if he won, the good part would have been there's tons of guys he didn't fight yet, and I mean, I guess that's still the good part. And there's still lots of matchups for him.
75K was the bonuses for tonight. Why? Why the bump?
Tony Ferguson, Dana White privilege.
That was a pretty good line.
That was fucking incredible. Incredible. It's one of the best I've ever heard.
Had you heard that one before?
No, I never. No. Rampage used to call me Dana. It's good to be white. That's the second best one.
Last thing for me, a couple of weird scores from the judges tonight, and
I agree.
Which is, I mean, when you guys come to Texas, that kind of happens pretty frequently. I mean, there are good judges in Nevada and other places. Like, why not, instead of having some of the local guys, and the guy that scored that Lando Venata fight for Grundy 30-27, I think he's only judged 5 events in his life. Why not fly in somebody instead of having the local guy?
Yeah, that's a problem. I agree with you 100%. And I know that Mark Ratner is working with these guys, on stuff like that to try to make it better.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Dana, just one question. Now that tonight's come and gone, do you think we get some sort of answer with what's next for Justin Gaethje, or are we going to wait till the fight in July?
Ask me that again, Shmo. What'd you say?
Do you think we'll get an announcement for what would be next for Justin Gaethje or after tonight? Or do you think we'll wait for what goes on in July?
I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that question. Let us get back to Vegas, matchmaking meeting on Tuesday, and we'll see where we go.
Dana, with the way tonight went, and obviously the crowd, is it out of the question to bring a show back to Texas by the end of this year?
I tell you guys all the time, man. I'll come to Texas every weekend. I love this place. Again, it's all going to depend on how the rest of the country and the rest of the world plays out over the next 6 to 8 months. I could see us doing Texas and Florida again this year if stuff doesn't change.